Hey, what's going on, everybody? Martavius here once again,
Jeremy.
and welcome to another jam session. So, if this is your first time joining us in these jam sessions, welcome in. If this is not your first time, then welcome back to a jam session. These are just sessions that Jeremy and I started over a decade ago, unofficially, but we have come here on YouTube just to share what we talked about maybe like 10 plus years ago in our college dorm room, which is about life, growth, success, prosperity in all its different forms, but really just becoming this different type of person who can just really see things from like a tower large vantage point of view, right? Just to see like, well, let me not be in the weeds of this thing. Like, yes, some things we have to go through it, but how can we rise above these situations and rise above difficulty and rise above stressors that can throw other people off, like our counterparts off, or like our neighbors off, our classmates off, like our peers, it just throws them off. But we have this way of looking at the world and just operating in that world at our highest and at our best possible self. So that's what we're going to do on these jam sessions. So welcome in.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, piggybacking off what Martavius said, just bringing it on together. We had some great conversations in our past. We wanted to bring that into fruition. We had a few conversations already. So if you haven't seen any of our previous conversations, go check that out. Check us out on YouTube, A Life Elevated. Um, Let us know what you think. If anything kind of gets your brain thinking, leave a comment, leave a remark. Let us know what you want to hear from us in the next few jam sessions that we have going forward.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into this one. So what we're talking about today, we're talking about just how everything is connected and just like that's like a really big general thing. Some of you may be thinking, but it really is everything is connected. I remember taking they call it like what Myers-Briggs personality test.
Hmm.
You remember yours by chance?
It definitely is it INJ. It was the one that was kind of introverted, the one that kind of focused on introverted, introspective thinking, kind of um, not really isolated, but integrating with oneself, not necessarily needing a group in order to be able to accomplish things. XYZ, very futuristic, future focus. I can't remember the particular letter, but I think it's whichever one was more so introspective, introverted in nature.
Yeah, yeah, same here. Mine was INTJ. So
Uh,
yeah, and it's funny because like Cash is ENTJ, so it's just
oh
like
gosh.
Cash is my wife for y'all who don't know. But yeah, I just remember like taking little assessments like that and just being a little confused at first. It's like, what am I doing this for? You know, or even we had a mentor. She was like I think she was like a research assistant, like a graduate research assistant as well. And she gave us
The
like
flu, yeah.
these books, and we're like, what are they talking about in this books? But it's like this little point of reference or this little point of influence even that was given to us at that point in time when we weren't ready for it. We weren't mentally qualified for it, right? We didn't understand any of that stuff because it was all new for us. But it's just like by being exposed to that way of thinking and like just little wisdom nuggets here and there, just in that book, or little tools like, hey, carry a pen with you, or have this notebook with you, write down your own thoughts. Like they'll make connections, and we start to slowly see over time that all these things are really connected in very intricate, minute ways that may not seem as important or may not seem as like grandiose as like these other people who may have this other thing. It's like, wow, they put this and this together, and it can seem so easily laid out, but not a lot of the times we see those connections in like the conversation we have with somebody, the video we,
Right.
the interview we're a part of, or watching, or I remember even. And I bring up the INTJ stuff and the personality thing because like one of the most recent ones I took was um, Gallup Strengths Finders. So
Okay.
one of
Yep.
my top five was the top one was connectedness, and it was just like you see the threads and everything, right? And I'm pretty sure like you as well because you have a really good. I don't know. You're like an owl. Like you just like nobody sees where you're at, but you watching everything.
Who? Who? Who?
It's like you just see everything. You're just like, man, like your observational skills are just like top notch. But I feel like it's like having that observation and just being able to see the patterns of things. And I feel like sometimes we can miss that sometimes. It's like we're not looking at like we see the
Yeah.
chess pieces or we see the checker pieces, but we don't know how they move or we don't know how they connect.
Hmm.
And it's just like that one little piece of data, one little piece of insight or just a conversation with a person, it can just bring all those things together, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I think like the connectivity piece is very important. I think the observation piece is very important as well. But I think that, one of the biggest things that I've come to realize in life is that, nothing is by chance. Like nothing happens by chance. No opportunity that you get is by chance. It's based upon the work that you put in, the conversation, the connections that you've had over the past, the practice that you put in, whether it was like implicit or explicit practice. Sometimes we're practicing without even really knowing this is what we're practicing for. Like our original jam sessions 10 years ago, like we didn't know that we were really preparing ourselves for this moment to be on a bigger platform than before. It was just roommates hanging out, just sharing intellect, trying to figure things out or whatever. But that in retrospect was helping prepare us for, this current phase in our life and our um, business partnership, friendship,
Mhm.
etc. And I think there's a lot of different replays of that I've experienced in my life, just kind of understanding or like being able to have a flashback. It's almost like you have a flashback in real time. Like we see the flashbacks on TV
Mhm.
shows, especially like the 90s and early 2000s shows are really heavy on the flashback stuff. But like I can see that happening now, and I try to use those moments to help guide me into the direction that I need to be for the most part. Because typically things that I've end up being successful at are small nuggets that have shown up very minutely in my past,
Mhm.
but the present is just kind of exponentializing that particular skill set, that moment, or that opportunity for me. So that's kind of what I think about when I say like nothing's by chance. We have to kind of we've already prepared ourselves for what's to come. We just don't know that we're preparing for it necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that ties into what we were talking about last time with just going through it or growing through it is like it can
Mhm.
feel like this is pointless, this is useless. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Why now? Why here? Especially if it's something that's like new. Cause I feel like with something that's new, especially if we have to learn something, it's stressful. It can be stressful.
Right.
Like learning is a stressful process. But it can be fun and we can put ourselves in these different states to enjoy learning. But still, it's just like it can be a stressful thing because like there's something I don't understand. And I know, especially when you don't understand something, it can be
Yeah.
frustrating. And it's like I see this to this day to where it's like I'm training people who are older than me, and it's just like it can be something as simple as spreadsheets or some tech thing or some like shortcut on the keyboard where they don't have to click all these different things, and it's just like showing them that they're like you can just like see the frustration and see that it's like relax, it's okay, you got this. You've seen things before, you've handled things before, that were difficult, that were new. It's like you have kids and you talk about how your kids are growing and changing and all these things.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this one person in particular, who has like two daughters, or this other person who has like four kids, sons and daughters, and it's just like this is like very small. Like you raise four children, like four human beings. Like that is
Gosh.
no easy task. To figure out Google Sheets, like you can do this, you got this. So
Yeah.
it's just seeing the patterns and the connections, and like you said, just things in the past that it's just like you see it duplicated and replicated over time. And I feel like that's for a reason. And it's just like, just get the lesson, learn the lesson, see the pattern. And that's what I'm seeing now. Just again in my current life, where we would talk about things again years ago, where it's just like I remember when we watched The Secret, and they were just talking about basically like in another realm of thought, like reticular activating system, but basically like if you if you program your mind to see this thing, you're gonna see this thing
Yeah.
every like all the time.
Right.
And it's like back then it was still fresh and new. So I feel like I didn't really truly understand it. But it's just like once people told me stories about how, yeah, I was on my way to class and it's just like I was at I was approaching a stoplight across from the, campus or whatever. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be late. I don't want to be late. I can't be late for class. I can't be late for class. And it's just like that focus, that hyper focus on not being late is like red light, ducks crossing across the street.
Yeah.
It's like all these like factors like saying be late, be late, be late because you're focusing on lateness. It's like even though it's like I want to avoid this thing. It's like it was so hyper focused on late, be late, be late, be late.
Yeah.
Care about the don't like don't be late. It's just like you just focus on be late. So it's like even the thoughts that we think, just how those can connect to our real life experiences, and just but the biggest thing that what you said just kind of track this with me is just pattern recognition. Is like if we don't learn how to use the pattern or learn how to recognize the pattern in our life, it could be struggles or even our wins. It's like we're going to continue to struggle, over time by not learning that lesson and saying like, hey, when this thing happens, this thing usually follows that. Let me look for that and pay attention to that.
Real, yeah. Patterns, patterns are what matter. Like, that's what kind of I know I've said in a previous episode that, you learn from the mistakes of others. Like a genius learns from the mistakes of others in a sense, and that's not necessarily looking at somebody mess up all the time, but that's recognizing the patterns that these individuals take. Like if you're looking at sports, most of the great sports, people, whether that's your Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali's, your Tiger Woods, Serena Williams, they coming out of that, they were just kind of they were relentless and the things that they did, they practiced and trained nonstop above and beyond any of their peers during that time frame. What they always learned, they always had a lesson to take out of anything. They use any type of motivation. It could be the most minute thing, could be, oh man, you can't make 10 shots tonight. Well, I'm gonna make 25 shots
Yeah.
tonight, etc. So, really using the smallest, almost even unrealistic thing to get motivated in order to accomplish the things that they need. Those patterns for greatness in the sports realm, and the same is true, in regular life and business, and personal responsibility and household and marriage, etc. Being able to recognize those patterns and pinpoint them. I think that's like the important part of like mentorship as well. I think the mentorship allows you to visualize the patterns, not just the end goal, because we as people often obsess over the end goal. Like we obsess over the money in general, we obsess over the materialistic things, but we don't necessarily obsess over the process and the things that it takes. So I think, having a mentor or somebody to look up to be able to look at the patterns that work and being able to understand that process to help you get to the different steps. Because I feel like I'm at a point now in my life where, the mentors that I see or assume that I have aren't necessarily as one-on-one as they were in the past. Like when I was younger, I needed directly, okay, you're my mentor. Let's meet on this day. Let's talk about these things. But now I can have a mentor of somebody that I've never necessarily met, but I still look up to them and I recognize the patterns that they do. I study them. I try to integrate things that I notice that they do into my particular life, and I can see that it worked. And I don't necessarily have to be as upfront with them because I know and understand how to recognize the patterns and how to apply that to my life to hopefully get to the results or adjust my journey, in a way that I want it to be adjusted.
Yeah. No, that makes so much sense, especially like with like in neuroscience. I really got into studying neuroscience like after college, when I had reading for enjoyment.
Right.
I'm like when you're forced to read, it's like Cliff Notes, where you at? But it's just like afterwards, it's like I was like, what do I want to learn? What do I want to learn about it? I was like, I want to learn how to learn. Like, let me learn that. So
Yeah.
I took this course called Learning How to Learn. I think it was on Coursera. But it was basically breaking down like this is how the brain works, this is how you process information. Of course, we already knew like different types of learners, things like that, like your kinesthetic learners, your auditory learners, your visual learners. But then it's just like the topic in the conversation about mirror neurons just like really fascinated me. I was like, wow, this makes so much sense. Just how everybody has these mirror neurons. and if we see so, and we all experience it, even if we don't know the concept, or understand it completely, in neuroscience terms, but it's like if you are watching something and you see this show and like this baby is laughing, you're probably gonna laugh too. Or if this
Yeah.
person is on, I forgot the name of that show, but it's just like if they're showing somebody, hurt themselves on a skateboard going down a rail, and it's like they hit themselves in an awkward way, you're like, ooh, it's like you feel it
Yeah.
too, even though it did not happen to you. You're not physically on the skateboard, you're sitting on your couch watching this person do this dumb thing or whatever. But it's like still like you visually seeing it, you get to experience it yourself, and it's just like understanding that's like how much more powerful can we be? Like how much more influential can we be in our own life, in our own like story, if we like look and model people who are like way beyond what we're doing, who are like smarter than us, who are better speakers than us, who are more confident than us, who just show up differently. And it's like, I want to be like that person. Like, what do they do? And just to your example, what you were saying is like, if you're in a work environment, you just see people, even if you don't go directly like talk to them, just by watching them, and it's like you can just pick up on those little cues and just like use your mirror neuron superpower, that's already built in, to say like, let me just like, I just think of because we talked about this a lot, but just like Kakashi in Naruto, right? It's just like he just looks at somebody and is like, got it. He can just, they call him the copy ninja, because he can just look at it one time and it's like copy it real time. It's like, I know what you're doing and I'm gonna do it exactly the way you do it. Maybe even better, because his adaptability skills were just so sharp. But I just think about it like that, like mirror neurons is like Kakashi Sharingan, it's just like you and know exactly how you doing your jutsu and how to copy it and how to defeat you. So it's just interesting how we all have access to that and how we can use that ability to make these different connections, and just like, let me learn that this person is saying this thing in this way, and this is how these people respond to it. And I feel like that's where introverts have like the superpower, like, yeah, real world,
Yeah.
because we can just sit back and observe like what's going on. We don't have to be in the mix, but we can watch the mix happen and just see the little pockets of connections that are going on. It's like, well, when this person talks to this person in this way, they laugh at this, and they brought it over here and they laugh too. What if I did that? I wouldn't seem as awkward when I approach the situation because I could just come with a
Yeah.
joke, come with whatever in the same way this person did it. So I just feel like that's amazing that we all have access to these mirror neurons, and then we can just utilize it for that pattern recognition, but also amplify our own abilities and own skills to connect with other people more efficiently and effectively.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's pretty much the cheat code to it all, being able to connect the people, and I think pattern recognition, as we discussed, is very stellar in that process. And it's a skill, really. It's not necessarily something that you're born with. It's really a skill. It's like almost like a computation skill. Similar to math. I'm a math guy, so like if you're doing like algebra, it's a way and a process to break down the larger problems into a bunch of different smaller problems together. It's that same type of breakdown, and the more that you do it, the quicker you get with it, the easier you are. The easier it becomes to you, and the more effective you can be with breaking it down. But it's definitely a skill set that you have to practice and get comfortable with doing. And you're gonna be wrong sometimes at the beginning. Some of the patterns that you think we just kind of really going by gut and not necessarily by data or like re-registering the things that we've seen in our minds, et cetera, in the past to it. Um, and you're gonna, make some hiccups along the way, but hiccups are where you learn. That's how you learn what's working and what's not, and able to adjust accordingly from that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like what you're saying, just about the the kind of, I don't know, it's like an intuitive part of it. Like you just
Yeah.
like, I've seen this before. Maybe it's this, or it's like you just kind of venture into this unknown realm, or just
Hmm. Hmm.
using the higher faculties of your mind, which is like imagination. That's like the top level, things that we can do is just like going from this place of I love how Myron Golden talked about it. It's just like the lowest level of value is implementation. So it's like you're doing the math, but it's just like imagination. It's just like how does this connect with this? And what's this new formula? Like this was here, but it's something missing there. And it's like you start to think and dream of like the bigger things and create your own formula and create your,
Yeah.
because like all the forms we have right now, somebody had to imagine and think about those things, but it's just like, well, was that just like ground zero, And it's just like, is there more,
Hmm.
And I feel like as long as humans are alive and we're interested in learning about ourselves and the world and how we're connected to everything, we're going to continue to like outperform and just like learn new things beyond what people learned 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Again, the people who are going to live 100 years after us is like they're gonna like what I was doing was like baby stuff, and it's like
Hmm.
we're
Right.
super fans and AI and all this, and we come a long way, but they'll be like, nah, there's more, that you're missing, just because somebody was able to just imagine, and I just think that's an important part of just connecting things together in general. It's just like imagining the possibility. Like I love the prompt question of what if, like just what if this thing could happen, or what if this person were placed here, or what if, just like all the what if possibilities to see how can I just improve the quality of my life? How can I improve the quality of my relationships, my finances, my approach to, communicating in a large group or just one-on-one with a interpersonal relationship, but I feel like those what if questions, they start to tie things together, and just piece together things that don't really seem related, but they are in some level.
Right, right. Yeah, when you started explaining that, man, the activity that came to my mind
Mhm.
was um cloud watching, watching clouds in the sky and trying to make sense of what they are,
Mhm.
what they look like, and then trying to create a story of the similar clouds that are like close within proximity, like together. Like if I looked up in the cloud, say, "Oh man, it looks like a dragon's mouth," etc. Oh, is that a Power Ranger that is about to attack or something like that? Like just kind
Yeah.
of creating those little scenarios from that, or like the ink blob test that they used to show about like therapy sessions or psychiatry sessions. What does this image remind you of, type of thing? Like that's kind of the practice that came to my head as we was having this conversation. Like that's very similar to what, like the neurons that fire for that activity are very similar to what fires for when you're actually trying to do what we've been discussing in this particular episode.
Yeah, I love it. And when you said that, I was like, wow, I haven't done that since I was a kid. And that's what again, it's like I feel like the ones those of us who have the best imaginations are kids. It's just like
Yeah.
there are no limitations. It's like the world is so big, so vast, everything is possible. It's just like just cloud watching. And I probably did it a little bit in college, but I don't really remember like looking
Yeah.
at clouds and telling it because I know what you're talking about. I was like, like that was because it starts to form something different. It's like, oh,
Yeah, it formed
what
something
happened?
different after
Oh,
like 10 seconds. Like, oh
yeah,
wait,
yeah.
that's look like this now.
Exactly. And it's like watching it like this is TV. This is original TV. What people
Right.
did. And
Literally.
yeah, and it's like I found myself doing that too. Now with the clouds, more recently, like when I got on the balcony, just like looking at like the birds and the squirrels and like Cash and I, we recently saw this I forgot what it was called. I think it's like a trumpet flower or something like that, but it's like this
Hmm.
vine, and it's just like red and white and it's just like beautiful how it comes out. But we've never seen that before. Like ever seen it before. Like as many times as we've gone on that balcony and just like been outside and stuff and just sat there and talked or whatever, it's just like we've never seen that before. So it's like, where did this come from? It's
Yeah.
like it was always there. It was always it was free. It was always like growing its roots and stuff, but for whatever reason, we just never noticed it, because I don't know, like this spring, it was just so distinct. We're like, have you ever seen this before? It's like, it's over here too, and it's over there. And it's like
Hmm.
yeah, we just never seen it before. But then we was researching it, and it was showing how it can attract hummingbirds. And we're like,
Hmm.
that's pretty dope. Like we just love hummingbirds because we saw this one come up, but it was like out of the blue, out of nowhere. It was like probably a couple years ago. But it's just like I think we're having a conversation, and I forgot what happened. But you're having a conversation, and it's like you say something, and it's like something happens like right at that moment that kind of matches what you're talking about.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's like we are talking. I forgot what we were talking about exactly, but the hummingbird came in just at the right point. It was like, and then just like went away. It was like there for a blip of a second, but then it just disappeared. We're like, it was a hummingbird. Like it was so cool. But, and then it just like every once in a while we would just see it come back and it would just do the same thing. It would come like at the exact same spot, look at us for a second, and just like fly away. I'm like, where's this hummingbird coming from? Again, it was like we've never really seen hummingbirds where we're at. But again, looking at this whole trumpet flower thing, how it said it attracts hummingbirds and hummingbirds like feed off of that. I was like, what if that hummingbird we saw was like pollinating that thing that we see today? But we
Yeah.
just thought it was like a random hummingbird and we never noticed this thing. But this process was happening this whole time. But we just, this
Mm,
small, little, quick, instant thing, we're just like, wow, hummingbird, oh, it's gone. Like, and we don't see it again for another year.
right.
It's just like, was this hummingbird doing this thing the entire time and we just missed it. So that's just popped in
Absolutely.
my mind, like now that we see that whole thing and then just like the fact that it's a trumpet and it's just like just the whole trumpet situation is like that's pretty cool, like
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing happens by chance.
exactly.
Nothing happens by chance.
Exactly. So
Now I need to go plant a now I need to go plant a trumpet flower in my
right,
garden now.
yeah. Yeah, man. So, yeah, for everybody watching here, again, I hope you got a lot of value out of this. This is definitely a great conversation. I need to go cloud watching again, like soon, because imagination is amazing. So, again, if you got a lot of value out of this, please share this with somebody that you care about. Leave a comment below. Jeremy, where can they connect with you? If they want to get more in touch with you and what you're doing.
Oh man, they can connect to me with on Facebook, Jeremy Tillman. They can connect to me on Instagram as well, JV Tillman. Yeah, they can comment on this video below, and I will respond back as well. So, those are the main ways you can contact us, me myself. But we hope you enjoy this episode, and please let us know what you want us to talk about, and upcoming episodes as well.
Cool. Leave it in the comments, y'all. Till next time, Martavius signing out.
Jeremy, peace.
All right. See y'all.